what he has to say. So I'm going to read his words. Jabbar says the slap was also a slap to women. By hitting Rock, he announced that his wife was incapable of defending herself against words. This patronizing, paternal attitude infantilizes women and reduces them to helpless damsels needing a big, strong man to defend their honor, lest they swoon from the vapors. What is the legacy of Smith's violence? He's brought back the toxic bro ideal of might makes right and talk is for losers. The Black community also takes a direct hit from Smith. One of the main talking points from those supporting the systemic racism in America is characterizing Blacks as more prone to violence and less able to control their emotions. Smith just gave comfort to the enemy by providing them with the perfect optics they were dreaming of. Young boys, especially Black boys, watching their movie idol not just hit another man over a joke, but then justify it as him being a superhero like Protector. Well, they're much more now prone to follow in his childish footsteps. Perhaps the saddest confirmation of this is the tweet from Smith's child, Jaden. And that's how we do it. Abdul-Jabbar wasn't the only Titan speaking out today. After the break, another powerhouse comedian goes after Smith. Jim Carrey, skewering the tone-deaf Hollywood types in the audience who thought that Smith's behavior was acceptable enough to lionize him with a standing ovation and then kiss and hug and snuggle up to him like somehow Smith was the victim. Thank you for watching. Click the red subscribe.
Good afternoon, everyone, or good evening, and welcome to a new edition of Real World News TV. I'm one of your hosts, your co-host, Reggie, Kearney, and with me I have my co-host, Chara and Tappen. And tonight we want to discuss Black men stereotypes, Will and Chris. How you doing tonight, Chara?
I'm doing okay for a Tuesday night. This is going to be a very interesting discussion, I think.
Yes, it is. But the show is over with. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar said what needed to be said. He was right on point with everything he said. Yes, I'm pissed off. I really am. Will I ever watch another Will movie? Probably not. Because Will opened up Pandora's box when it comes to the stereotypes that people have of Black men. Okay? That we can't hold our anger, that we got to lash out, that we got to hit somebody. Excuse me, that we're very violent. So yes, I am teed off. What you say, Chara?
There's so much to say. First of all, I obviously don't condone what Will did. I was shocked and appalled. It was disgusting. It was unfortunate. And at the end of the day, I feel sorry for both of them. I feel sorry for Chris Rock's humiliation. And I feel sorry for the choice that Will Smith made and the impact that's going to have on his life and his career and his family. But to your point, and I understand the point, yes, the stereotype is that people of color are more violent. Yes, the stereotype is, and the racist talking points that we commit a greater percentage of the crime, which we all know, including racists, isn't a true fact or statistic. But what bugs me about this conversation, there are two things that really bug me. One is there's been violence at award shows before. Kid Rock, John Wayne, Clint Eastwood, Vince Neils from Motley Crue, all got into physical altercations. In John Wayne and Clint Eastwood's example, they were physically threatening a woman, an Indigenous woman, and who was accepting an award on behalf of Marlon Brando and The Godfather. They physically had to be held down. They got a tongue lashing, but there was no negative impact on their career. Awards weren't taken, to the best of my knowledge, and no one suggested that what they did reflected poorly on white men. And, you know, I see this as an incident between Kid Rock and Will Smith. Unfortunately, we were all spectators to that event, so that by default sort of gives us some level of involvement. But he does not represent the entire diaspora. He does not represent all of Black men, nor does Jada Pinkett represent all Black women. And it bothers me because it feels to me as though we are using the same language that supremacists use when we're describing this event. You know, when you read a newspaper and see a crime is committed, if it's committed by a white man, they just say a man. If it's committed by a Black man, they say Black man. They go out of their way. And sometimes they say it's a Black man when it isn't even a Black man. And, you know, the point of that, again, is to sort of reaffirm this notion that one Black man represents all. If one is violent, they're all violent. And that's what the right does, and that's what supremacists do. And the entirety of the white community doesn't talk about boycotting white men in the white community when they do something like this, in varying degrees of all of the crimes and social snafus and whatever that they may get involved with. While on the one hand, we've talked about in a number of shows that we don't support each other in our communities, on the other hand, we're talking about boycotting this man for one horrific mistake. He doesn't have a history of violence. He doesn't have a history of being a womanizer or being an asshole, to the best of my knowledge. I preface by saying that. But we're talking about, I'm seeing people posting online, boycott him, boycott his movies, give up on him, throw the baby out with the bathwater for this one thing. And there's something about it that just so much reminds me of the criminal justice system. A Black man commits a crime, jail for life, unforgivable, unredeemable. You know, he's a thug. He deserved to die in the street. Derek Chauvin, you know, arrested, had some history, deserved what he got because he's a Black man and he had an offense. And it feels like we're taking the same approach here. We're nuking him when a flogging will suffice. And, you know, there's something about this that just sort of rubs me the wrong way. And again, I preface the fact that what he did was disgusting and horrific, and there absolutely should be some comeuppance for this. And yes, he resigned from the what is it, the Academy? I forget what it is. And he's losing contracts, and some of his work isn't being pursued, and he's going to suffer for that. The other thing that bugs me is that it happened over a week ago, right? Chris Rock isn't pursuing charges as things stand right now, but we are continuing, and I don't mean we, but you know, you look on social media to attack him with memes and attack Jada, and some people are calling Chris Rock a simp because he didn't hit back. Some people are respecting him because he carried on with his obligation to host the show, and nobody's giving anybody that was directly involved with this an opportunity to sit back and heal from it, because I do believe that they can both come back from this. I think if they themselves meet, talk, hash it out or whatever, they can come back from this. But we keep picking at the scab like a fetish with this global sense of righteous indignation. And again, I do preface that what he did was absolutely wrong, but there's something about the degree to which I think we're addressing this as a community is bugging me a little bit.
Well, you know, we need to address it, okay?
Yeah, sure,
Because
absolutely.
me, as a 64-year-old Black man, I'm very daggone offended about what happened, what Will Smith did, okay? We have an issue and a problem in this country now with our young Black men, okay? In the major cities. You in a major city, Tony's in a major city, I live near a major city. We have young Black men out here killing people every day. Okay, we have young Black men out here hijacking cars every day. We have young Black men out here fighting each other, not going to school, not pursuing a career, not doing nothing every day. Okay.
And you think they're influenced by Will Smith?
Listen to me. Listen to what I got to say. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Will Smith is a professional actor, businessman, and father who represents Black men in the community, okay? What we should be doing. we should be doing what we need to do. Okay, all right. He handled the whole situation wrong. Okay. Now, what he should have done is he should have waited till after the show and either confronted Chris in the back and had a conversation with him to voice his displeasure, or he should have called him. Okay,
I agree 100%.
It was a disgrace
Mm-hmm.
for Will to go up there with an international audience and just all out of a sudden, out the blue, smack him. Okay, and then his wife,
you won't get any disagreement.
Then his wife looking at it and laughing. Okay. Then his son talking about it, and this is how we do it. Okay. Representation. When you take the mantle for certain things, you have to carry that mantle correctly at all times. Okay. Yes,
I don't disagree.
Yes, I'm offended about it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
In my community, if I went out and did the same thing, I would get roasted because of my position in the community. Okay.
Yeah.
I have to carry myself a certain way. I can't get caught out here on the highway with a DUI. My picture be all over the place. Okay? I can't do that. There's certain things you have to refrain from doing, okay?
I don't disagree at all. The other thought that crosses in my mind is I am not aware of him having ever done something like this.
But it's not.
Let me finish. I hear you. I 100% agree with everything you said. I'm not disagreeing with you at all. But I have to wonder, did he lose his ever-loving mind in that moment? Because that was very out of character for the Will Smith that we have grown and watched over the years. Now, granted, we only know the public side of Will Smith that we've seen in the media and the movies and whatever he posts on social media. We don't know Will Smith. We don't know Jada. We don't know their history, their baggage. We only know what's publicized. But to the best of what I am aware of with him and what I have seen of him in interviews and whatever he shares with the public, this was out of character for him, as I know him. To the limited degree any of us can say that. So if somebody that you somewhat know or have a familiarity with does something so blatantly out of character, I have to think that there is something wrong with him. Did he have a freaking cry? Like, what the hell happened? Because he's never acted out like that before that I know of.
He had a
and
wife.
he's heard a lot of shit talk about his wife over the last 2 years with the whole August thing and everything. He didn't smack anybody back then.
Well,
so what snapped in that moment?
Because she been smacking on him, okay?
Mm.
In the beginning, that joke was fine with Will, okay? He laughed at it. But then when he looked over there and got the side eye from Jana, that's when his whole demeanor changed, okay?
Yeah, no,
okay.
I saw. Yeah.
Take the beating when you get home from your wife. Telling you why you laughing? What was funny about that joke? Take the beating when you get home, okay? Oh, I'm the man. I got to show my wife I'm a man and everything. Chris Rock done said something. He should never said that, okay?
Yeah.
Walk up there, out the blue, acting stupid and slap them. And then gonna come back and sit down and go into a profanity-laced tirade, okay?
Yeah, that to me was almost more shocking than the smack.
If they ain't gonna get up there and cry, I'm sorry, to get his Oscar.
Yeah.
If I had been there, I would taken that Oscar and jammed it up his butthole, okay?
Yeah, I think
was wrong. He was wrong. Okay, you look, he never lost sense of where he was, okay? I assume, okay, that he never lost sense of where he was. Here you are on international TV, okay? And look, we got a brother who's produced this show with all black staff. Okay, we got people. This is a special night for a lot of people. You had a movie from a deaf guy. I had never seen the movie before. A deaf guy won an award. The movie won an award
for Coda. Yeah,
Coda. You know, you had all these special awards, and then you have
Questlove
coming up there, and that documentary that Questlove did
is great. I watched it last night. Yeah.
It is great. He has it coming in after all that.
Yeah.
Will deflated the room of his mess, okay?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's a time and place It's a time and place for everything. Okay, and that was not the time to go and make a spectacle of yourself. You know,
Again,
yeah,
I am not disagreeing with you.
people suffer for the things they do. He will suffer for a while. What's the guy, the white boy out there who used to be in the Danny Glover movies? Uh, he
Mel
was,
Gibson, who's done
yeah,
lost his mind.
yeah. He took a big hit, but eventually came back. Will is going to take a big hit. I
Oh yeah.
mean, come on, these guys aren't crazy. They got to make money, okay? They'll hold everything back up, and then he'll gradually come back up, and then it'll be all forgotten. But you said something earlier that hopefully they'll be able to sit down. I don't think they will. Okay, as a man, as a man, the last thing you want is another man coming there smacking the crap out of you on national TV, and you don't do anything. In which
Oh
Chris did the right thing. He shouldn't have done anything.
yeah.
Me, they probably still trying to get me off the top of them.
Yeah.
Okay, but he
Yeah.
did the right
Yeah.
thing to
Yeah.
walk away from it. But his dignity was stung.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I feel a tremendous amount. I mean, he has got to still be processing this. Anything that I've seen him in, when he's not talking and joking and performing, he just has this kind of fugue state look in his face because he has to come to terms with the fact that he was
Yeah.
humiliated
Hmm.
on national TV. And of course, over the long term, he'll make a joke about it and he'll move on. But,
Hmm.
I really do hope that the two of them can come together and get over it. I really
No,
do.
you can't. Now, if this had happened at the Ruby Tuesday's restaurant and TMZ caught it, yeah, okay, they probably go and hash it out. But this was millions and millions of people seeing that, okay? I mean, this is something. First of all, this is something that's going to put a cloud over the Oscars for years to come. Okay, like I said, you had all these good movies and people getting awards for these great movies and documentaries that it did. And was the buzz? A slap. Okay, Chris has to walk with this the rest of his life because one day when his kids are grown enough, his daughters are grown enough to know what's happening. One day the grandkids gonna put Chris Rock in Google, and what's gonna pop up first? The slap. The
Well,
slap is always gonna be at the top.
hopefully by then it'll be buried under years more of work. For him,
No,
I hope this.
I don't think so because it's out there. This is the Oscar. It was just like when Steve Harvey couldn't get the right country right, couldn't get the countries right. Okay, that followed him for about 3 or 4 years, and people
See, I've
started
already forgotten it.
disappearing. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
I've already
this was
forgotten it.
different. This was
Yeah.
a assault. Will, in my opinion, should have been arrested. Okay, granted, he probably wouldn't got no more than a misdemeanor ticket and posted bond and got out of jail and going back to court. But he needs to be held accountable for his actions. Okay, you
Yeah.
know. I
And
mean,
I don't disagree with that. I
mhm,
just have a problem with it. Again, to my earlier point, we tend to, in some respects, the bar we set is very low in our communities. What we expect from each other and what we do to support each other, or what we see communities doing amongst each other. But when something like this happens, the bar is raised exponentially high and higher than any other group. And the degree of accountability that we attribute to this now, in comparison to other situations, it's just not the same. And again, public flogging, he's going to lose millions of dollars. I mean, trust me, whether we all globally voice opinions on social media or not, he's going to suffer for this. One way it's already begun. He's out millions of dollars, not to mention the guilt that he's got to feel over messing up not just Chris Rock's night, but all of the other actors and award winners and people in attendance. The moments that were stolen from Serena Williams and her sister, from Questlove and from John Baptiste, for the album We Are, which is a great album. That moment can't be reclaimed for them. And the amount of guilt that he has to feel, I would hope that he feels, for stealing that moment from all of those people, on top of the message that he's sending to the community and young folks. But honestly, the young folks that are violent now, that are hijacking or fighting or whatever, were doing that before Will Smith, and they'll continue doing it after Will Smith. And I don't think anything Will Smith did or does is going to impact kids on that level, because some of these kids are already lost.
Yeah,
God bless them. And I hope to God that some event happens in their life that shows them there's another way and a better way. But to lay all of that on his shoulders is, I think, a bit excessive.
we're gonna lay it on his damn shoulders, okay? Because of the impact it has, okay, in the community, okay. Granted, we're gonna have crime forever. Till this world comes to an end, we're gonna always have crime, okay? But you have to set examples of who the person can eventually be, okay? Um, when they look at him, he has street creds now, okay, in the black community among the young men. Oh yeah, check Will out. We didn't know Will was like that. We didn't know Will was built like that. We didn't know Will had it in him to do that. That's what they see, okay? They don't see the movies he's made, the money he's made. Oh yeah, he one of us now.
Yeah.
He's one of us now. What, he snapped that out of that guy.
Yes, he did.
And then Chris is gonna be on the back end of it, on the reversal end of it. Hey, what's wrong with Chris? He was scared of him. Now,
no, Chris had a contract. Chris had a job.
But let me tell you,
Chris kept it together.
Let me tell you, his brother.
Oh, I heard that.
Love. His brother has no love for Will.
Yeah.
I think they better never meet up in a restaurant or even in the men's restroom, because Tony Rock is going to knock the you know what out of Will Smith. Okay? Because what he did, Will, was wrong. I don't care how you frame it. I don't care how many times you put on his shoulders. He was wrong. Yeah. Okay? He did not handle that like a man. And that's what we got to teach our kids also.
I gotta wonder, though,
how to handle things in a manly way, okay?
And
wait, and one other thing, before you say what you gotta say. And then she sits around at the red table, the blue table, whatever table it is, and tells all her business, okay?
I'm sorry, say that again?
I said, then she sits at the red table and tells all her business. Okay, now come on now.
Well, I was going to actually kind of touch on that a little bit. Tabling for a moment the absolute undeniable wrongness of what happened. The last couple of years for Will Smith, on a personal level, have not been great. He's been the brunt of jokes and criticism and being emasculated on a national scale with everything done. And at the end of the day, we know what they tell us, and we know what the media surmises, and then everybody adds their 2 cents, and the game of telephone changes the story till it becomes this big brouhaha. But at the end of the day, we don't know. We weren't there. We don't know what happened. I don't know what happened between her and August. I don't know what conversations. Well, she didn't straight out tell us. She kind of skirted around it a little bit. She skirted around a little bit. But we don't know the kinds of conversations they've had off camera, the intimate personal conversations that families have, the memes, the jokes, the emasculation, the hit to his sense of masculinity. I don't know how strong Will Smith was of a person before Jada Pinkett. But I do know that over the last few years, he has been humiliated several times over. And I have to wonder, in part, even though I know that he laughed at that joke, if that's part of why he snapped that evening. The culmination of being the brunt of these jokes and the emasculation of it for a number. He needs help. At the end of the day, I think his family needs help. They need to see a therapist. They need something. Because something's not right in that household, and I feel a great deal of empathy for them. I don't feel sorry for Jada, because she's in control. She knows exactly what she's doing. for without making a judgment call on it. She is in control of herself and knows what she's doing. I don't have that same sense of awareness and security from Will. There's the persona that he puts on in the cameras, but when he's not looking at the cameras, when you're looking at his expressions and some of the things that he puts out there, it just seems like I look at a drowning man. And maybe it was just a matter of time before he snapped. And unfortunately, he chose to do it on national TV in such a bombastic kind of way. But yeah, I'm just done. I'm just done with it. I don't know what he can do to come back from this. I don't know what he and Chris Rock can do to what he can do to reconcile with Chris Rock, and if Chris Rock will have the grace and the fortitude to be able to accept that. It would have been an amazing thing if that did happen, because that would set a good example for the community as well.
Chris, a couple things. Tupac had no love for Will Smith. Tupac always said Will Smith was a weakie. He was weak, okay? He always made that comment about it. He always told Jana about how weak Will was. I mean, Will was so weak that one time Tupac said something to him, Will broke down crying to Jana, okay? He has that weak side of him, okay? Now, as far as Chris Rock and Will reconciling, it's not going to happen, okay? The only thing the only reconciliation, or the only graceful thing that Chris Rock did for Will, was telling the police that he didn't want to file charges, okay? And that's where he left it at. That's how much grace he gave Will, okay? Yeah. Because if it been me, I would say go out there, handcuff him, and drag his butt out of here, okay? But it would have been more embarrassment for the Academy, not so much for Will, but for the Academy, for the other artists there to get their awards, okay? So that's where it lies. But reconciling, I mean, it's hard to like I said, it's a difference getting slapped in a restaurant, and you see it on TMZ, versus getting slapped, at a
100%, and it won't be easy at 100%. I mean, that's a Herculean. That's the trials of Sisyphus. But
did you ever see the Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence movie, the movie Life?
When they're both in jail?
Yeah, they finally reconciled.
I hated that movie.
Yeah, when they finally, but look, when they finally reconciled when they were about 90 years old, that's when you probably see it, okay?
Yeah.
Well,
I look, I don't expect him to ever forget it. Perhaps he can forgive it, but I leave that to him. But in terms of both of them healing so that they can go on with their lives and not bear the weight of this, I hope they find some place where they can get to that. Because at the end of the day, that's between the two of them. And what they decide to do and what they choose to do has to be something that is organic and natural, that comes from both of them, and not in response to the multitude of public opinions driving them in one direction or another. Chris Rock needs to do what he feels is right, and Will needs to have therapy and a come to Jesus moment or something. But that's my hope for the two of them. Beyond that, I'm done speculating. We saw what we saw. There's a lot of stuff, I think, behind the scenes about that situation that we don't know about, because I believe that there were some issues between Will and Rock before. I mean, when he was making jokes about his wife.
Well, the only thing he said was, when they were talking about boycotting the Oscars, she put her 2 cents worth in, okay? And like Chris said, she doesn't have anything even do. She can't even put input in because she hasn't done no movies that warrant her being an Oscar. So she was, going around telling everybody that, her and her husband are going to boycott the Oscars, and she doesn't have a fight, okay? Because she hasn't done anything that will lend her to want to boycott the Oscars, okay? And the joke,
no dog in the race, so of course.
And the joke was centered around that, okay? And it wasn't a bad joke. He was basically saying, "Come on, James, set your little butt over there and with your husband and be quiet because you don't have a bone or dog or whatever in this race. Just sit down and be quiet, and that's where it has always stemmed from, And but still, it didn't rise to that level for him to go and smack. Even if whatever he said it. Okay.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And the interesting thing is, I think that when I first saw the slap, I thought it was staged, and it wasn't until later in the news when you could hear him saying, "Keep my wife's mouth out of
Hmm.
whatever," that you realize that it was real and genuine. If
Yeah.
he had not followed up with the cussing and the expletives loud enough for the entire theater to hear,
The
I think
world
they
is here.
probably could have the world. I think they probably could have tried to play it off like it was staged or something less than what it was. But that vitriol was sort of the cherry on top that made it obvious that that was unplanned, unscripted, and unnecessarily violent.
Yeah. I mean, we have too much violence in this world as it is, and we. I hate to say it, our community, the black community, is at times a dysfunctional community. Okay, and we have to do everything we can because there are a lot of single parent homes with the mothers raising young men. And I know a lot of single mothers now going through it, trying to keep these young men on the straight and narrow because of the uh, how the community can swallow them up and have them doing things that they don't need to be doing. So that's one of the reasons that we have to watch as professional black men who are trying to make a difference in this world, how we carry ourselves. We have to carry ourselves in such a way when that kid sees us, they say, "I want to be like them." Okay, you know.
Well, to speak to that point, and something you use the phrase toxic masculinity in the beginning of the show, and it's interesting that you bring that up, um, coupled with the comment you just made about single parents raising their sons, because as I've mentioned to you before, there seems to be this disgusting uptick of these misogynistic alpha male type podcasts all throughout social media now. And first, you were only really seeing white men do it, but now there are a couple of black men who have a really huge following, and they are spewing a lot of toxic masculinity that is also extremely misogynistic and bordering on incel, and how they don't respect women. So I think by way of finding and ensuring that single mothers have role models for their sons, if it's not a husband or a boyfriend or an uncle, a teacher, somebody to combat that, because I'm seeing more of that pop up now in
Yeah.
people in their 20s, 30s, and
Well,
younger.
you have a lot of organizations doing like in my fraternity. We have a mentoring program for young men in middle school, preparing to go into high school. You have the 100, uh, 100, the organization 100 Black Men in different communities that mentor. So you have a lot of, and most of the fraternities do have mentoring programs to mentor young men in the community and everything. And I think what has happened that we as black men, okay, we have done a disservice to black women because we father the baby and we disappear, okay, and we don't, and then we go out and father some more babies and we disappear, and we don't take time to nourish those those young men and young girls that we're supposed to be a father to and everything. So we have dropped the ball ourselves.
Right. But I would also
Mm.
make a distinction between we and many. There are many who do that, but there are also many who don't.
But you could say it's 50-50. It's a lot
Mhm.
of it out there. It,
Yeah.
it is a lot. When you are mentoring young men, I mean, you'd be surprised at the number your percentages, how the percentages of homes that have uh, 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 fathers in it, the scales are tipped by the households that don't have fathers in it. Okay,
All right. Right.
and a lot of those young men have tough times mentally trying to figure it all out. Okay, because some things you can talk to your mother about and it's cool, and some things you can't. you know, and that's where, you know, and the mothers, you know, the single mothers really appreciate, I mean, really, really, really appreciate what we do as far as mentoring their sons and stuff, because of the simple fact the father doesn't come by and doesn't stay in contact with his son, doesn't develop a relationship with him so they can avoid the pitfalls that they're going to come in contact with as they try to grow into productive citizens in the community, you know.
So let me ask you a question to get back on topic.
Mhm.
What would you have Will Smith do now? What does anyone think, aside from what I'm seeing online, where everybody's saying boycott, no more movies, you know, disappear from the world, don't make any more money. Like, aside from all of that, this sensational stuff, what would you, as a man, a black man, a judge, and a pastor, suggest that Will could do to at least start on the path of making it right?
Well, the one thing he could do, and I know he can't do, is get his son straight, okay? But that's a whole different show, okay?
Mhm.
But what he really needs to do, in all honesty, is start working with these mentoring groups to mentor young men, to let them know that violence is not the key to solving problems, that what he did was wrong, okay? Now, it would be a beautiful thing if him and Chris Rock could mentor young men in the community, you know, through different organizations. I'm not saying, Will, you need to go out here and start your own organizations. There are enough organizations out here mentoring young black boys that you could be a part of easily, okay? I mean, these groups would be glad to have you and explain to them, look, what I did was wrong. This is not how you live life. You don't take your anger out, because that's how so many of our young boys get killed. The anger pops out and they're dead. Okay,
Mhm.
so that would be that would be something if he could harness his anger, whatever anger he had, and put it to work. That would be the best thing he could do in the community. Would go out and because now he has to build a trust. He has to build a trust in the community among young black men. Because the first thing they're gonna say, "Hey man, how can you tell me that I need to do this and do that when you stepped on stage and slapped somebody?" Okay, so he's got to get through that door first, and then when he goes to the second door, he's got to be to tell them why what he did was wrong. He got to be contract. He's got to be as apologetic as he can be. Okay, all right. That is what he has to do. And I think if I think he takes that approach, you know. And see, the one thing he should have done when he went up back on stage, the first thing he should have said before he even said anything about the Oscar or anything like that, Chris, man, hey, I blew it. I lost it. I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
And that was his opportunity to clean the whole thing up,
yeah.
but he didn't. He apologized to everyone except for the person he hit. What if he, you know, and I think he knew how hard he could hit him, he probably not hurt him. But what if he had not used a slap, an open hand, he used his fist
Hmm.
and knocked him into a coma or something? Okay, you know, it is obvious he wasn't thinking. So I'm thinking that, you know, yeah, he's got to do some community service work.
Hmm.
You know, he's got to get with the young men, young women, everyone that's young, and explain to them, this is not how you do it.
Do you have an organization? You can send him an invitation,
I mean, all the
because he
fraternities
needs
do.
Pastor Reggie too.
Look,
He needs to do community service, but I think he
yeah,
needs a little more help than
look,
that.
it's all, like I said, all the fraternities do it. You know, have mentoring programs. The 100 concerned black men of America. They have, you know, large chapters in almost all the major cities. I'm sure there's one in New York City. You know, those are kind of organization he has to, you know, to uh, you know, extend, you know, his hand out to, you know, and say, look, let me talk to you, okay? He needs to do whatever he can, you know. I mean, develop a film, you know, develop, you know, a short video and send it out to these organizations, okay, for their mentoring programs, okay? He has a lot to do. He doesn't have time to do movies right now. Even if they didn't stop the movies, he doesn't have time. His reputation is jacked up. Okay, so he needs to go out and work on his reputation, but he can work on it by letting young men know and going into the inner cities and talking to young men and say, look, man, what you saw was not the right way to handle things.
I agree. Yeah.
Okay. You know, to
Now,
let them know gun violence is anger is not the way to handle things with guns and fists and stuff like that.
and what about now? I've read a few things online that suggest that uh, Chris Rock has a reputation of uh, making jokes of and publicly humiliating women who've turned him down in his past. Now I don't know if that's true with
Uh-huh.
respect to Jada, but there are some who are, I guess, pro will, putting aside the violence for a moment, in terms
Hmm.
of um, allowing the poor taste in joke to be a justification for defending their woman.
Hmm.
Do you think, one, that Chris bears any responsibility for this? And two, would you suggest that this will or should give comedians cause to pause when they're, first of all, that joke wasn't even written by Chris, it was written by a white woman. But do you think that this event should give comedians pause to think
Hmm.
about the things that they make jokes about?
Well, Packer came out and said that that joke was a Chris Rock joke. It
Yeah,
was
no,
in,
I read something
yeah,
else that it was
yeah.
a
He
white woman
said,
who wrote
and
it.
he was a director. He said it was just something that was off the cuff. Okay, wasn't even in the program. But this is the thing. Okay, we have over the last 10 years, we have started beating down the comedians for their jokes. Okay, and whenever they go off script, and that's what being a comedian is all about, being off script. Okay,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
have to have thick skin as a person to deal with the joke. Even if you sit in the audience and the comedian picks you out and say something that might not make you happy, you're supposed to laugh it off. Is that's what it is, being a comedian, okay?
Yes,
So
but
no,
there's
wait,
something.
no, listen. We in this woke society now, okay? And we do
Oh,
need to be woke
God.
about some things, okay? But we're allowed, and the comedians are even saying it. It's getting their craft is getting to the point where because you can't do the jokes that you did 15 years ago today because someone is always finding some way to be offended by it. That
Yeah, but look, in
look,
part
I
I
want,
agree with you. In part I agree with you, but there's some things that I don't think are funny. Jokes about the Holocaust, I don't think are funny. Jokes about rape and violence to women, I don't
oh
think are
yeah, I
funny,
agree with that, but
right?
but push
Mis-
all that out the way. They still find
misogynistic
stuff.
jokes.
They still find something to be offended about. You can have the cleanest act in the world, and somebody in the audience is going to get
Oh,
upset
yeah,
about something
I
you
don't
say,
disagree with that. But
and
when you
that's
look at
where
when you statistically, this country, I think, is one of the top countries in terms of violence against women, the frequency of sexual assault and rape. And so to have comedians joke about that in a patriarchal society that's misogynistic, that is not pro women, I can understand why some types of jokes they're just not funny. They're only violent to other misogynistic, women hating people. You don't hear women joking about violent rape of men. You don't hear women comedians joking about hanging people from trees. So I think that there are some things that should be considered verboten.
yeah, and but the comedian has to determine what his show is going to be about now, and he has to determine how far he can go with the audience and
Mhm.
still give a good show. Okay,
Mhm. Yeah.
because at the end of the day, your job is to make people laugh. Okay, you know, regardless of who wrote that joke that night for Chris that Chris Rock did, was it in a sense that offensive? Maybe so, maybe not, depending on the women. Some women embrace that disease, okay? Some women don't because some women find beauty in having their hair, okay? Some women look at it and
Yeah.
say, hey, it is what it is. Hey, I'm gonna live with it. Okay.
I don't think I could pull it off.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Some people gonna be offended. Some people gonna walk away from it. Okay. But Jana didn't have the case none by laughing about the whole situation after Will slapped him. It was
Yeah,
like
no, she was in. First of all, I don't know why she didn't
Mhm.
stop him. I mean, I get, and I'm
It was
saying
too
that
quick.
I'm saying that facetiously. No, she
Yeah,
could have stopped him.
it was
She
too
could have
quick.
stopped him. She could be like, no, the
Yeah,
minute
he
he
jumped
made to
up.
get up,
Yeah,
or she could have followed him, and but
still
there,
too
there,
quick.
there are ways.
Yeah,
There are ways. If but and then to laugh about it afterwards, and then not even
yeah,
to make a statement, and again to make it. Yes, the joke was about her, but the violence was not against her. The violence was against Chris Rock. And to
yeah.
not make a statement specifically about that, apologizing on behalf of Will or the family. She made a statement about she's a woman and doesn't need, a man to protect her. Again, that's not addressing the issue and making it again seem like the entire world is revolving around her. I used to be a Jada fan. I thought that she was
Mhm.
evolving into a very interesting, kind of esoteric individual. But the more I read or see between her and Will, I can't help but start to think that this is a really toxic, not healthy relationship, and
Well,
it's gonna destroy him.
yeah. Well, the whole thing about the free love and allowing the kids to have free reign and make their own decisions. I don't even think neither one of the kids had even finished high school yet. So there are things that they need to address for the kids that probably going to be hard to address because now how you tell 20-something-year-old go get the GED, okay? I know one of them has. I don't know both of them, but I know one hasn't finished high school. So how do you get them on the right path? Okay. How do you sit down with your son and say, look, son, what you said was wrong. We do not roll like this. This is not how we do it. Okay.
Well, I
Because to
doubt that
Jenna,
his
it was
son
a
is going
joke.
to become violent. He doesn't have the chops. He doesn't have the
Oh,
weight to
they
be
kill his
to
son.
become violent.
His son better stay right at home. I take his son out over in Southeast or Northeast DC and put him out and say, I'll come back in 30 minutes to pick you up.
Oh
He probably
no.
outrunning me, outrunning the car. Okay.
Oh no.
So
Oh, poor
they
baby.
have that family, I think, and I don't know, I'm just my opinion. I think the whole family is living in a cloud of toxicity.
Well,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, it's
Yeah.
rich people problems. So my husband
Yeah.
calls it high class problems.
Yeah.
They both made money young. They're living
Hmm.
well. They've got things they're invested in that are making money for them. And I think it's probably easy to get caught in the trap of I can provide enough money for my children to give them the freedom I didn't have to discover themselves and evolve to how they want to be. And that's kind of everybody's sort of dream, right? Like,
Hmm.
if I had been independently wealthy or my parents had been independently wealthy, I probably would have become one of two things. I would have become an archaeologist or an artist of some sort. I would have had the luxury to pursue the interests that I had at the time, which is what these children have the luxury to do. But unfortunately, in so doing, it seems as though they're missing the opportunity for whatever normalcy they're supposed to have
Hmm.
at that age, and
Yeah.
the rules. And I'm sure they must have rules, but
They
they're they're
don't.
they're living on an entirely different spectrum than the
Yeah.
rest of us.
They're free spirits, and I like what Yolanda said. They need therapy, But they allowed. I think what happened was they gave their kids so much leeway that it backfired on them, and that when it was time to try to draw them back in, they couldn't. They couldn't say you need to do this and need to do that because they already done start doing their own thing,
Yeah.
you know, and being out there, and granted, they are not the poster family. You shouldn't have your family shouldn't emulate Will Smith family. Okay,
I mean,
yeah,
and it sucks. It can't because we can't even say, look, they're not the Cosby Show
right. They're not.
because but we can't even say that anymore,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
They're not the
so
Obamas, right?
yeah.
The
Oh,
scandalous.
they're definitely no Obamas. Okay, they're definitely no Obamas. But I mean, I think the thing is, the family has a lot of work to do, uh, and Will has a lot of work to do. And Chris said, if you want to see how his life was, look at Everybody Hates Chris. And he said
Yeah.
that was a picture of his life, because
To
everybody
culminate in
hated
this
him.
moment,
Yeah.
now talk about a mind fuck, right? So if that was genuinely
Mhm.
in any way similar to his upbringing and how he felt psychologically and emotionally as a child, for that to culminate in him being a grown ass man who's accomplished so much to getting publicly humiliated like that, I think Chris is going to need a little therapy to deal
Oh
with this
yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
we all have our baggage, we all have our
Mhm.
demons, and I have no doubt, because there are videos and interviews with Chris, when he was younger, saying, "Look, I'll run. I'm not a fighter. I'm a
Yeah.
comedian." Right? So, for
Mhm.
his own issues and questions regarding masculinity and what it is to be a strong man and all of that, the baggage that he's carried with him his entire life to culminate in that moment
Mhm.
is heartbreaking.
Look, there's a lot of comedians out there that if Will had slapped them, I can think of 99 of them, that 99% of them that Will would not even have got out the seat. But see, Will saw that vision that, hey, I can get away. This is Chris Rock. He ain't gonna swing back at me. But he had went in there and swung at Sid. What's my boy's name? Gosh,
Sinbad,
not
Eddie
Sinbad.
Murphy.
Not Eddie Murphy.
mm,
Has a TV show on Channel 9, The Neighborhood. Uh,
I don't know it.
Cedric.
Cedric,
Cedric.
Cedric, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
If he had hit Cedric from St. Louis, if he had hit Cedric took his clothes, say, "Oh no, come on." But he got his bodyguard and say, "Look, no, you go
Now
get Will Smith and
that
bring him
would
on
have
outside."
now that would have been
Look, he would
even
have,
more embarrassing for the
yeah.
community,
Because,
and in
but
that respect, I
but
give
see,
Chris applauds.
when you go and jump on somebody, you got to size them out, okay?
I feel like he just had tunnel vision. I don't think he was thinking
Look,
straight.
no, I'm gonna tell you right now. I bet he wouldn't have went there and hit Questlove like that. See, you sitting there, you're gonna pick your battles, okay?
Mm.
All right, you're gonna pick your battles, okay? Will knew he was bigger than Chris. He can go there and do it.
Somebody,
Yeah, he thought wrong at the wrong time by doing something stupid. But you do pick your battles. You don't go and jump on everyone.
well, it's our little subconscious equation that works itself out. I don't know how conscious it is, but there was a post on Facebook that was of other black comedians, and they're like, he wouldn't have done it to this. And who's that scrawny, skinny little comedian, Cat
Oh,
something?
Cat Williams.
I was like, he can't be on that list. Come on, he'd
Cat,
blow him
Cat
over.
Williams. But see, Cat Williams is the kind of guy he crazy. Cat Williams is crazy as a bed bug. Cat would have just Cat would
He's
have just
about as
jumped
big as
on.
one too. God
Look,
bless him.
Cat would have jumped up in the air and jumped around and held him by his head, choking him and everything. Because Cat
Like a
Williams
squirrel
got some
monkey.
issues. And people don't
All he had to do
understand.
was hold him back like this.
Look, people do not understand how Cat Williams makes it through life. Because Cat has had some serious issues. He's a father of his sister's kids who died and everything. But Cat got some serious problems. Cat would have jumped up there, and he would have jumped on top of Will, and
You
they would
mean
have been
after
pulling
getting
him
off the
off.
floor? You mean after
Yeah,
getting off the floor?
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's his Cat. But I mean, the whole situation is sad. But you do pick your battles. You don't go out there and jump on the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not gonna jump on them. I don't care how mad I am what a 6'8", 300-pound man says about anybody in my family. I'm not crazy enough to run there. He beat the crap out of me.
I think, unfortunately, that it's clear that like there was a documentary or something
Mhm.
about Will Smith and when he met and fell in love with Jada and blah blah blah. And there's a part of me that feels like he's been obsessed more than in love.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that if he was with the right woman, if
Hmm.
he had the right emotional support, um, that wouldn't have happened.
Yeah. You gotta realize Jada is straight up from the hood, Baltimore. Okay, she's straight up from the hood. Okay, she lived a rough life. Okay, Tupac. Her and Tupac dated in high school. He was a rough one. Okay, so already got that environment. That's why Tupac was always going off on Will Smith, because he knew both of them grew up in inner cities, but one grew up hard, the other one grew up on the wings of his mother. Okay, and that might have had something to do with it too. That the way he grew up, being sheltered by his mother, and Tupac being in the streets doing what he did, that could really, have an effect on your psyche, the
Yeah.
way you were brought up, and
Yeah.
everything. But it's gonna sting him for a while, and like I said, those guys in Hollywood know they need to make money. So I mean, he has one movie. Have you ever seen a picture of the slave that whose back is beaten up real bad with whips,
Mhm.
from whips and stuff? I think you've seen it before, where he kind of they're showing his back and he's kind of got his head turned. Well, Will has done a movie about him, and the movie is in the can, ready to go. But I think Netflix or whoever's going to bring it out is holding it up. They're not going to hold that movie up too long because there's money. Okay, there's money involved in it. So
Yeah, they'll wait. They'll wait for the next wag the dog situation to distract
uh
everybody, and then
yeah,
hopefully we can sort of go back to some degree of normalcy, and then
mm,
allow all of these people the space they need to
yeah,
figure out how they're going to overcome this situation.
yeah. I
Because at
mean,
the end of the day, I think all of these posts on social media and whatnot, they have a tendency, it drives people mad, especially people
mhm.
who make their buck off of being in the public eye, and it just kind of saddens me the more frequently I see these memes and shit.
Look, I tell you, sometimes some of these drivers out here in my area be getting on my nerves sometimes, and I'll be ready to throw a fingers and roll down the windows. I say, but the one time I throw a finger or wrong or cut somebody out, it's gonna be on a daggone face. But Judge Kearney stuck his head out the window, give him the thing, give him the bird, and curse me out because I almost ran him off the road.
Yeah.
And that's how you got to look at it. You always got to be prepared because somebody out there knows you, okay? There's someone out there that knows you. So you got to be careful how you
Oh
carry
no,
yourself.
look, I'm careful on these shows. There are times when I just want to go off. I
Yeah.
would make Tony blush, but then I
Mhm.
think about what I do for a living, and,
Yeah.
and it holds my tongue.
You get to the office the next morning, and even though you were talking about black folks, what you said was wrong. Okay, we got to let you go. And that's how it is now. So you got to be careful. So I hope and pray that they all come together and get it right. I know it's going to take time for Chris and Will to sit down. I know one day they will. And maybe, like I said, Will might take this as an opportunity to go out and work with other young men to, say they didn't do a good job with his son, go out and work with other young men to mentor them and get them to see that violence is not the way. And that's what the main thing is about black men stereotypes. It's just too much violence that we perpetrate on each other in our
Mhm.
neighborhoods, and we got to stop doing it, okay? And
Yeah.
somebody keeps putting this time clock up here on the screen saying it's time. Must be Tony.
Yeah, or Ray. Yeah. And again, I would just hope that in our community, as much as we have to hold a standard, that we can also support each other in times of need, um, because that'll also strengthen our community, I think.
Yeah, yeah. So close us out, Sharon.
Mhm. Well, I think we've said all that can and should and ought to be said on this subject. I think that, okay, so Thursday night on Truth Brothers, they've got The Dating Divide, Interracial Dating, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. So that should be interesting. I'm going to try to remember to call in on that one because I have an opinion. But it was a good show tonight, I think.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we had to figure out a topic for next week. We'll see what happens over the weekend. I know something's gonna happen.
Oh, and also, Tony wanted me to remind you that this is actually a follow up to the HTTR discussion that happened earlier in the week. I think
Yeah,
that it inspired a lot of discussion and dialogue, and so the conversation needs to continue, but with Truth Brothers being the host, so it'll add another little flavor to the
yeah.
conversation.
But next week we might need to go back to and visit uh, Justice Jackson.
Hmm.
Because Tim Scott is a whole new story, new show. Okay, You know, Uncle Tom Scott. You know, he. I'm not saying vote for people because they're black, white, or whatever. Vote for them because they qualify, but also vote to make history too.
Hmm.
You know, make history in your own community.
Yeah. Well, she is the most qualified in
Yeah,
decades, so they really don't have any leg to stand on.
yeah.
And I'm really tired of hearing their bullshit.
But Tim Scott has missed the boat for on the history boat.
Mm.
It's done left the dock and left them standing on the dock. You know, and sometimes we got to look at things in perspective with the historical value. You know, so hopefully one day he'll be able to explain to his grandkids why he did what he did. You know, and they'll still love him.
They'll grow up just like him and not care.
Unless he marries a Clarence Thomas type, cray cray. You know, hey, let's go. This has been real, everyone. Good night. Enjoy your rest of your week. You know, don't slap nobody. Okay.
And leave the matches at home.
I keep my matches and gas in my car. Okay.
Oh God. Alrighty then. Good night. Good night,
Good
Reggie. Good
night.
night, Tony. Good night, everyone. Good night, Colleen.
Oh boy.